Yo, how you feeling, man?
Gang, gang.
Yeah. Gang, man. welcome back, everybody, man. Good to have everybody here. It's another episode of Respectfully Disagree. I am one of the hosts of this show. My name is Sebastian Cole, also known as today Uncle Uncool. You see what I did there? Some wordplay.
I see what you did there.
I got my good friend and my brother, man, Pastor Carl Frederick here. How you feeling, Carl?
We yet making it, man. I'm here. It's a beautiful day outside, so I'm gonna sit out here and enjoy it.
Man, do that, man.
Yeah.
Not to put your business out there, man, but we've been missing for a little while because my man Carl was going through some things with his family, but we're glad that he's bouncing back. He's got a smile on his face, and that goes a long way, man. I just wanted to say that I'm really proud of how you handling all this, bro.
Appreciate you, man. I really do.
Yeah, man. I like to start these off with just find out what's pissing you off. POP, pissing off the pastor. What's pissing you off these days, Pastor Carl?
Oh man. Let me say this because we've been grieving. But one thing that has pissed me off the most is don't say I'm here if you need anything and don't answer the phone.
Oh my God. Call me if you need me, but try not to need me. Oh my God. Yeah.
Don't do that. If you don't mean it, it's okay not to say it. It's okay to say, well, I'll check in on you later on, but don't say I'm here if you need anything, and then when you need something, you don't answer the phone. Let's just stop that. Stop telling people you're praying for them, and the only prayer is when you actually say I'm praying for you. Let's just stop that. Let's cancel that. We're in cancel culture. Let's cancel that.
Cancel fake prayers. Canceling fake prayers. Do not tell me to call me if I need you, and then when I need you, I can't call you. Exactly. That's what's pissing off the pastor this week. Can I add one piece to that? And again, sure. I know the grieving process, and so I don't want to be insensitive, but I do want to tell y'all to stop doing this. If y'all having a reception of any kind, I don't care what it's for. If y'all having a repast of any sort, stop bringing them filthy ass pastel mints. I'm sick of them pastel mints. I don't know where they come from. I don't know where you buy them from.
I've never
stop putting them dirty ass mints out there.
Show up.
I don't even know where they come. I've never seen them in the stores. I swear to God, I've never seen them. So stop doing that, man. That's what's been pissing off the pastor this week. It's good to have you, man. The topic that we want to talk about today, I think, was great, man. Introduce it for us. Let's know what's on your mind.
Today, yeah, man. But I wanted to ask a question, and this is something we wanted to talk about a couple of weeks ago. And I know the question, if I say it to the community of people who are staunchly opposed to the church, it's going to be emphatic yes. But I want us to really think through this and think what we're about to say, and I wanted to make sure I put a qualifier on it. Has the church, the black church, when I say the church, I'm not talking about white evangelicalism. I'm talking about the black church in the black community. Has the black church socially failed the black community?
That's a good question. I'm gonna throw something out there, man. I try to look at things a little differently. You're right. There will be some staunch opposition that would go, yeah, it's failed us. I don't think it's that. I think it's the operative phrase in that sentence is the black community.
Yeah.
And the reason that I say that is because we have a hard time really defining, how I feel about the community, right? So we have a hard time really defining what exactly is the community, what should it be doing, how should it be operating. So I think, I don't know if the black church has failed the black community so much as it has, if black spirituality, or spirituality in general, is supposed to be something that goes from inward to outward, or is it supposed to be something that comes outward inward? Right? If it's something that's supposed to go from the inside to the outside, where your spirituality, and that's normally how I see spirituality, something that comes from within and goes out. Basically, this is how we collectively see the world. This is how we collectively participate. And so from that abundance of questions or answers or morals or whatever, spirituality is how we express that in the world. That part I think could be great. I think what happens is our spirituality can be, not all the time, but can be very outside in, right?
Yeah.
Where you go and learn this ritual that you may not have had anything to do with, that may not be an expression of your community, your culture, you see what I'm saying? And in that regard, I feel like it has, in as much as we can get in there and express ourselves. I don't go to church, but one of my favorite things about going to church is, and I've been to all kinds of different churches, but you go to a good old fashioned, just Pentecostal, hallelujah, good time church. What I like about that is, bro, it's crazy. Like the dances are very you. You know, the songs are very you. It feels a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. There's a powerful thing to that. And I feel like that thing should evolve with the people instead of here is the religion. Let me feed you the religion.
Oh, you said a good word.
Yeah.
You said a good word. Because I think that was going to be my funneling down process, because within today's lingo and a lot of good healthy conversation has included in this day and age, well, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious.
Yeah.
And I feel as if there is a healthy misunderstanding of what religion is. Primarily because religion as an action or religion as a verb is literally a specific set of idiosyncrasies or habits that we do to have a specific spiritual encounter. And so it's basically saying on first Sunday, I experienced God because I sang this song, and because I prayed this prayer, and because I read this scripture. And as a result of that, I experienced God. So the second Sunday, what I do to have that same experience is do those exact same things again.
It becomes very ritual. It's ritual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what now I will say this: religion has been marred in such a way to where the large conglomerate of religion has said you have to do these specific things in order to subscribe to a specific view. Now that's a problem. But religion based down, and in its most intrinsic way, is just a set of practices to obtain some type of spiritual goal.
Yeah.
And so once you look at it from that perspective, then we can start seeing, all right, I see where we've gone off the rails, because it stopped being doing this to obtain this to you have to do this. And that's where the problem starts.
I feel, okay. So when I think of a community, and again, I'm not really big on that term and used in this way, but for colloquial purposes, I use it.
Yeah.
But when I think of quote unquote the community, I feel like from a broad scope, here's what I see. We got a group of people who are trying to make it in a world that is forever changing, right?
Sure.
In the words of the hymn, time is filled with swift transition. You understand me?
Yes.
And the world around us is changing. It's becoming more technologically advanced. Things are moving faster. We're trying to keep up with work and life and family and friends. And, the older you get, the harder that can become. Right? I like doing these because it reminds me, okay, at least once a week, I want to take some time and, hey, we just going to talk some things out. I appreciate these because life starts to move fast. It just, it gets running. So, as it has evolved, I think one of the things one of the things that I don't think religion has done for us very well is it has kind of, although the ritual I don't think is so bad, or the I don't want to say ritual, the habit of it, I don't think it's so bad. I think what happens is, instead of being able to express what we actually need, because what we need more than anything, I think, is education.
Facts.
That's the one thing I think that we need more than anything, and not just education in what did Jesus say or what did Paul say, but literally education, right? The church at one point, this is the Catholic Church, but the church nonetheless, the church at one point sponsored all the astronomy. It sponsored all of the physics. Right, it was using all of this money that people were giving, and it was sponsoring all of the art.
Absolutely
right, like, so it was the Great Enlightenment, the Enlightenment era and the Renaissance and stuff. Although it was kind of people who kind of broke away from the religious rote of church, most of that stuff was commissioned by the church. A lot of it was,
majority.
George Lemaitre, who we credit for the Big Bang Theory, was a quite a devout Catholic. Right, Galileo, who let us know that the Earth was not in the center of the universe, was a devout Catholic. Right. So,
theologians argued with him.
They really locked that man up. But it's like
argued with him. Yeah.
It was the attempt to study God's creation. It was an attempt to try to really get an understanding of this world that we're in. And if they say that's God's creation, if you say it's not God's creation, that's irrelevant to me. But I think if our church as a community, if our church was pushing towards educating the people, because now you just got a bunch of folks who don't know nothing, but God will fix it. And I think that's a handicap.
It is. I know it's respectfully disagree, but goddamn it, I agree. I agree.
Hey, man, ain't nothing wrong with agreeing sometimes, man.
No, you said something to me that I challenged our people, our leaders with, because church is no longer becoming people just gonna come and visit just because they want to. You said a few weeks, probably about a month or so ago, that because I choose to be agnostic, I have to be intellectually astute in my reasoning and rationale. But the church, they can just say whatever about God, and we are completely exonerated from rational thought. We don't have to be educated. All we got to do is have faith, and that's foolishness.
I agree.
That's pure foolishness.
I agree. I want to see. Think about the power. And I've been saying this for years. We probably own more church property than actual real estate as a community.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? There are probably larger churches and Black-owned establishments in church than there are other businesses, which could be a good thing if we were using the collective resource to say, okay, oh yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah, they will. They ain't trying to get got.
To expand our minds, right? So if we said, okay, hey man, we're gonna do it like we do building funds. If we say, okay, we're gonna do a college fund, same way we did a building fund. We want to get a better building, but it'll be much easier for us to get a bigger building if the people in the place had better jobs.
It would.
And the way to get better jobs is to send these kids to school. Right?
And here's one of my critiques, because in the 19th century, the majority of our HBCUs were started by Black Christian denominations. Vast majority of them. But somehow or another, over the course of time, education became less and less of a priority. In the 21st century, and this is my biggest critique, and I've been saying this to, circles of preachers, I can stand outside of Evergreen. I can do 5 cartwheels and hit 5 different Baptist churches in the same community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
And then my thing is, when I look at it, of all of these churches around us, man, you might have a few of them that got more than 20 members. Why do we have?
Yeah.
When
now you got all these bills being paid.
Exactly.
When you could consolidate
these, make
Yeah.
one congregation, and then you have real estate buying power within that same community.
Mhm.
Because all of these churches have formed a conglomerate. We worship at one building, but all of these properties still belong to this one
One
body.
thing. Right.
And so now you
Right.
can utilize these properties for other things. And this is where I kind of have a both and about my answer to the question. So on one hand, we failed the community socially in terms of economic and education,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we economically, we say, bring ye all your tithes to the storehouse, right? And then once I start pastoring and getting to budgeting, I'm looking like, so what are we doing with this money? I know we got to pay bills. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm not ashamed of it, and God has blessed us. But during COVID last year, we took in well over six figures.
I like that.
But when we look at what we put out, it makes sense, because I'm
Mhm.
saying we're not about to sit up here and just have money sitting up for no reason. Our building
Right.
paid for.
Bill to pay for.
We
Good.
pay our salaries and our utilities, and that power bill ain't no ho. Whew.
I already know. I already know. It take a
But
lot
we
of
started
power.
exactly, and so we started working in the community. So we partnered with youth towers to try to end early adulthood and late teenage homelessness. It's a group
Mm.
in Birmingham specifically set out to do that.
I love that.
And so we're like, how can we fund this?
I love that. I love that. I think that that's when the church, when that organization becomes more alive in the regard of, I mean, again, we're taking these Iron Age ideas and we're saying, okay, we want to live right.
Right.
And great. Okay, live right. Okay, however you choose to live it, if you saying, hey, I want to focus my life on doing good, that's great. But I think to make it more practical, what is the good that I want to do?
Absolutely.
Because I was reading this book about a week ago, and it was called America's Anti-Education Issue.
Mm.
Right. And basically what it says is that America, while we are one of the freest countries on the planet, we really are anti-education. That we,
Absolutely.
like, so many of us don't have the money to go to school. I know Joe Biden is working on a free community college thing, which I think is great. At least get some kids in some community college.
Yeah.
Get us learning something, because the more we understand this world that we live in, like, the more we really understand. It's a lot of folk praying for stuff they could read about. It's a lot of folk having faith for what you could know. You get what I'm saying? And
Yes,
to put that on God and say, okay, well, God is going to work that out, when you could just figure it out. Like, and then, because normally when God has to work it out, that means we got to raise a fundraiser. We got to do a GoFundMe, or we got to do whatever have you. When we could be saying, okay, let's better the situation. Let's make this as easy on God as possible, right? Because if I catch a flat tire, I don't have to pray about that. If I catch a flat tire, I'm gonna fix a flat tire. If I need an oil change, I don't have to pray about that. If you see what I'm saying. So the more that I have, more information that I have, the more intellect and useful information that I have, the less I really. And I'm not saying get rid of God. I'm just saying the less. The less I need to get on my knees when I could get in my books, and learn. Okay, this is how you change a tire. Or if I'm building a business, it's so many people taking a leap of faith to open their business because they have no business acumen, right?
Right.
They just don't know what they're doing. Right. So I feel like we should be encouraging kids, get out here, let me send you to business school. Yeah, learn this.
Learn.
You want to understand. It's so many of us that's hood doctors and baby, let me send you to school so you can, if that's your interest, if healing the body is your interest, let me send you to school so you can learn. Y'all just gonna eat ginger to death. Right.
And there was this actual church service. I ain't gonna call names, but it actually happened. Where this lady gave a testimony, said that her her tires gave out, you know, and she was about to have a blowout, and she
Mm,
almost wrecked her car on the way to service.
mm,
And what the people in the church did was they surrounded this lady and started praying for her and her safety. And the preacher got
mm.
up and got the microphone and was like, "What are y'all praying for? Get that offering basket. This lady needs some tires
Lady needs some
tonight.
tires. Yeah.
What are we praying for? You
Yeah. The
know,
lady needed some tires, right?
she
We
needs
don't need
tires.
a hedge of protection and angels at
We don't
this
need
point.
man, listen, the hedge of protection is us taking up offering, going and getting her a new set of tires.
Get this baby some tires. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And that's where I
yeah,
think the social problem is. We have taken a role of passivity and put it
yeah,
on God as the actor. God does, and in whatever way God works within the universe, it does not exonerate us from acting ourselves.
yeah.
We'll say, well, God will fix it, God will figure it out. Well, him figuring it out is you getting up and going and making something happen.
And making it happen, man. Making it happen.
It's it's
If
it's
there's,
it's it's a cognitive, and I hate the word cognitive dissonance. I hate the phrase because people have overused it.
yeah, overuse it. Yeah,
It's killing me.
yeah,
But that is a textbook definition of it.
yeah,
We have become socially inept. And what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, don't have any parts with them. And
yeah,
it's created a social obscurity to where we don't know how to handle ourselves in business meetings. We don't know how to
yeah.
handle ourselves in networking meetings because in our minds, all we're saying is, I can't be a part of this. No, nigga, you need to.
You need to be a part of that. You need to and there is a part of this, two pieces. Again, there is the black part, and then
Yeah,
there is the church
absolutely.
part, right? And so let me just let me just drill down on the black part first. Statistically speaking, and I won't even bring up the statistics, you know that we got a long way to make up.
Yeah.
Right. We got a lot of road that we need to tread to get us on par with a lot of the rest of America and thus the rest of the world. Right? We're doing better. That there's programs being made and people are taking advantage of them and blah 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 blah. That's good, but we still have a long way to go. And
Absolutely.
I believe that we can make these strides, but we have to recognize what tools are available for us to make them. And I'll probably say this 100 times, but get ready for it. I think the key and the answer to that is being educated, right? Just the more that you know, the more that you know. Two things happen when you know more. You do more. The more you know, the more you do, and the more you know, the less you believe in. The less you believe in, right? The more I understand that my mama came in and put that dollar under my pillow, the less the tooth fairy was necessary. It did not make me get rid of my mama, though. You feel me? Like, so the tooth fairy might not have been necessary, but my mother was very necessary. So love was still there, community was still there. I just didn't have a superstition of, you know, some magical being. That's okay. I'm saying the more that we know, the more that we can do, and we can see more blessings because we're able to plant better seeds in better soil. We understand the soil better. Am I making sense when I say that? We understand the soil better, so we're getting better harvest instead of just throwing seed on rocks and praying that God make a tree, right? Or not having seeds at all, just praying for a tree, right?
Yeah.
But being able to educate yourself, being able to utilize that education, I believe can really create a better community on the black part. And then on the church part, I think the church is a great organization in the fact that for one time, even if it's a couple hours a week, you're going to bring, 20 to 100 to 3,000 to 30,000 people together, right? They're all here, even if they got their own hidden agendas, we're all here for the same purpose.
Yeah.
And they're going to listen to somebody preach to them or teach to them or whatever they're going to do for about an hour or so. And this opportunity can be one that can be life altering, not just in our morality. Morally, okay. I believe we learn morals less from sermons and more from our moral landscape.
Absolutely.
Right? You could preach to me and tell me all day, don't kill, don't steal. But if I'm hungry and I can't eat, I'm probably going to steal. Right. So, but if the moral landscape is better, I have less opportunity to do that bad thing. If I know I can make $1 and see myself be successful doing these things, then I'm going to do those things. So the church being there, my mama used to always tell me, if you got the mic, you might as well say something important.
You got to.
So I feel like the church has the mic, and shout out to all the speaking of Mike, shout out to Pastor Mike, and shout out to Pastor Carl and all the brothers out here, sisters out here that's doing the best that they can. But I believe that if we really focus that particular union on encouraging kids and encouraging even adults, but especially the children, churches for kids, man. I promise it is. But if we encourage these kids, hey, not only can you make it through your tough times as far as emotionally, Lisa. Okay. Not only can you make it through your tough times as far as emotionally or spiritually or whatever, but we can change some outcomes, right? We want to put you in some places where you have a different set of problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to be worried about paying your Section 8 rent in a year from now or 2 years from now. I don't want you to be trying to figure out who you're going to sell your food stamps to in 3 years, right? We're a group of people who love you and who want to see things be better for you. So we always want to encourage you to put yourself in a situation to where you don't need me as much. I know that sounds crazy, but I want you to not need me.
No, you have to. The goal is to create an independence for each person. Mm-hmm. That should be the goal. Like, if we have somebody join and within the first couple of months, well, y'all paying power bills, okay, we're going to help you. But we're also going to try to figure out a way to make sure that you can grow and substantiate your own income to where you can go from needing help to helping somebody else.
Helping somebody else, right?
That's the goal.
Helping somebody else. Yeah, man.
That's the goal. And that's what, and this is where I think the social aspect of 21st century church has failed us, is because we've come in only focusing on what God can do for me individually.
Right.
What I'm going to get out of God, my specific breakthrough. But then there are communities of people within every congregation. You got real estate agents, you got educators, you have, just average
social
everyday workers, social workers. You have all of this in the same building, and you got people leave out of there every Sunday going home to the same problems.
Right.
That's a problem.
That's a problem, Pastor Carl. That's a big problem. And we should be able to utilize those spaces to incubate new ideas, new scientists, new doctors, new lawyers, new engineers, new real estate agents, new real estate developers.
Yeah.
I don't know any Black real estate developers.
Really?
I don't know one.
Damn, hold on, time out. Hold on, wait, no.
I don't know one. No. I know a bunch of real estate agents.
Yeah.
I know a bunch, right? But I don't know any Black real estate developers. And I'm not saying that they don't exist. And somebody might say, "Oh, you forgot such and such," and maybe I forgot such and such. I'm right. But to my knowledge, like if I thought, man, I could buy this land right here. We could build us a little neighborhood right over here. I don't know who to call. I have no clue as to who does that. Right? But somebody there's somebody in a congregation that's going to be there this Sunday or that's there whatever that has that as a dream, but they don't know where to start. You know what I'm saying? Or they might not be able to afford to do the thing. But if we think, okay, hey, this is something no different than Galileo. Galileo, go figure out how the stars work. Right? Go figure out the way the stars work.
Right.
Right. And we'll put you up there. Hey, go figure out how the stars work. When you get done with that, write us a report about how the stars work. Now they was mad with the report, but nonetheless,
they paid for it.
Right. If it wasn't for Catholicism, we might still be living in a Earth-centric universe, geocentric. We would still be under the geocentric model,
we
right?
Still think dragons at the edge,
right? Yeah, we would still think that you could fall off the edge of the Earth. You feel me? So, but having that collective income and having that collective push towards learning, right? Two of the most important understandings that we've ever come to. One is that this is the geocentric model didn't work, right? And even my man Darwin, right? And now there's this huge push to pit evolution against the Bible, but even my man Darwin, it shouldn't be. But Darwin was really out trying to understand God's creation.
That was the central figure of all of their research.
That's it. I'm just trying to understand God's creation. So, and I think if that kind of mind frame helps the community, right? I'm just trying to understand God's creation, not just assert things about it, but understand, okay, even if I say this, one day outside of the universe, outside of time and space, there was a God. Man, live there, do that. But in the meantime, how does this creation work? Because the people who understand how it works can manipulate it, and the people who manipulate it are the winners.
You know something that's crazy. Just speaking of church education, all of the Ivy League schools in America were founded to educate pastors and preachers. Mm-hmm. Harvard, Dartmouth, Yale, Brown, all of them were started with the mindset, we need to educate our pastors. And what happened as the education grew, the church started saying, okay, the school is becoming too liberal for us.
Yeah.
And the church backed off of the education because it became too liberal. But it speaks to the same model. The more education, there's a less dependency.
Yeah, you got less, but and I feel like it's still okay. Like once I'm done, let's say I really could figure out everything in the known universe, right? If I wanted, if I literally knew everything in this universe, I still don't know if there's another universe.
Absolutely.
You're right. If I could figure out everything in this universe, if I wanted to say, man, I am thankful to whoever that made this, then you see what I'm saying?
Right.
However it works. And we got to know that when we look at the Bible or any spiritual text or, whatever, this is them trying to explain to the best of their understanding what God was telling them. I don't teach a 3-year-old calculus.
No.
Not that the 3-year-old shouldn't learn calculus at some point, but it may be a little too advanced for them.
Just like the time for it.
This ain't the time, right? So a lot of us are like scared to go learn calculus now because some thousands of years ago they didn't understand calculus. Oh no, that must be the devil. No, if a 3-year-old told me that sentences were the devil because they just learned the first couple words, then we would never be able to have this conversation, right? At some point, we have to be able to expand on the knowledge. And it doesn't make me any less loving towards you. It actually helps me to be more expressive in my love towards you. Because now I understand the language better.
The highest form of human life is communication and figuring out how to communicate well. That's why we have written texts now. Philosophically, I don't even think we've thought about it, but there had to be a consensus majority of people that meet to figure out how to make sure what's being verbally communicated reflects what's written communication.
Yes.
Verbal communication goes a lot further than written communication does.
Yes.
It outdates written communication by thousands of years.
Absolutely.
But the thing that's most important in education is communication. Because if you can't communicate well, there's obviously going to be a problem.
Absolutely. And human beings have moved. I said one of the most important things, I guess probably one of the most important things that humans have ever done was be able to record.
Yeah.
Right. Like be able to write and carve. Right. So being able to preserve information so that we can build on it. Right. And I think that if the if the community, if the church would focus itself on recording and preserving information, going out and learning the way this creation works, coming back and recording that information, preserving the information so that we can build on it.
Man.
Then in a couple of generations, you are light years ahead of where we were, right? Or where we are now.
At one point in time, and I would argue that is not the case now, but centuries ago, before, I'll say around the 12th century, before the Eastern and Western church split, the Catholic Church that was established in AD 30 or whatever you want to call it,
Okay.
would have enough resources to bankrupt the world.
Yeah.
At one specific point in time.
Yeah.
And I'll say maybe within the 6th or 7th century, I can say with certainty the amount of resources, the amount of money and influence, if it was pushed toward educating the world, we'll be in a totally different society right now.
Totally different, right?
We'll be in a totally different society. But
people get power hungry, and so you want to consolidate all the information to a few people. But one of the, especially being black folk, we love to say, well, they always hide things from us. They don't want us to know because but man, the black church has raised almost $1 trillion in my lifetime that I know of.
If not more.
Almost $1 trillion worth of money. And we bought buildings and we bought cars and we paid some light bills. We've done some things. Don't get me twisted. We've done some things, but I think it would be wise for us to invest in each other, knowing the things, right? Like I want to be able to walk into any black church and know that somewhere in there is a lawyer, there is a doctor, there is a physicist, there is an engineer, right? And the reason that I want to be able to do that is because, and I want those people, whoever they may be, or a professional ball player or whatever, I want to walk into those places and see those people, knowing that particular congregation raised them, invested in them, right?
Absolutely.
Pushed them, right? So that we can see. To me, that would say, man, God is really doing a thing over there, because I know what Evergreen Community looked like when I was in it.
Yeah,
it don't look like that no more.
No, buddy.
Something is going right in that congregation, because these kids that the world had given up on, these kids that they thought weren't gonna make none of themselves, look at them now. Look at what they're contributed to society and to their community.
Yeah.
I think that's what the church is. I think that's what it should be for.
This is a shameless plug, but I'm thankful for it. Out of those titles and positions that you just mentioned, we got all of that except a physicist at Evergreen.
I love that. I love that.
The first black police chief came out of our church.
I love that.
And so and then even now, we have a state House of Representative that's a member at our church. Mary Moore.
I love that.
Goes to Montgomery every Tuesday and Thursday. And my thing is, there's a wealth of knowledge, but the problem becomes, how do we pass that knowledge on to somebody else?
Yes. That's
where the social breakdown is.
Right. How do we encourage these kids, man?
Exactly. And I say this, I think the breakdown in the social engagement of the African American church just happened within 30 or 40 years. That's my little assessment. That's my assumption. I'll say that. I can't prove it all the way.
Yeah,
but I'm writing on
it. Tell me why you made that assumption. Epistemology. Let's get into that.
So my book that I'm writing, shameless plug, I'm trying to figure out what changed the paradigm shift between the 20th century and the 21st century within church. And in the 20th century, you got to think 16th Street, Dr. Chris Hamlin, he wrote his dissertation on 16th Street, and he showed that the church was built to be a community hub because it was the largest in Birmingham that can seat, 1,000 people just for us,
Right.
So the church was built with having the community in mind. This was 1912, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me on the numbers if I'm wrong, but it's somewhere around that area, right? So through all of that, through all of those years, you don't see the change until the 1970s and the 1980s. And it became where pastors stopped being socially conscious and started trying to be socially acceptable. Within that time frame, you have the generation of pastors directly after Dr. King. They started making money that the King era didn't make. They started having opportunities that the King era didn't have. And as a result of it, they started moving across the mountain. They started doing everything that would help make their life more suitable. And what the message started becoming was, if you want to live a life that honors God, you should live the life that I'm living. And if you can't afford this type of life, obviously you and God ain't as close as you think you are. And so you got to think about it. Late 19th century, like I said, you have all of these Black denominations starting colleges. Selma University being one. Jackson used to be Jackson Bible College or Jackson Baptist College, which is now Jackson State University. You know, you have more.
Talladega was that way, I think. When Talladega started by a church?
Yeah, absolutely.
A Baptist church, I want to say.
Miles College is Christian Methodist Episcopal. All of the, and so within the 19th and earlier 20th century, the church had a social responsibility. This is why you see your Dr. King's out front. Pastor. Dr. King only pastored 6 years. Gave up his ministry for the sake of the community. You know, so you have all of these things, but then you start looking at the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. There became a huge shift. We acted as if racism and the fight was for racism was done, but then you had Reaganomics, the war on drugs, all of these things happened. But then we started building mega churches. We started building these huge buildings. We started making it just something to be socially accepted in instead of having a social conscience.
Right.
And so a lot of that did not change until our lifetime. You know, now all of those schools, Morris Brown failed. South Carolina State University failed. Bethune-Cookman failing. You know, Alabama State enrollment is terribly down. And so it's like, what changed within a 40 and 50 year time period? It's because the social goal changed tremendously. And we stopped caring about the community and started caring about self. And as a result,
you can't do that.
You can't do that because the fight ain't over with.
It's not.
The fight that they fought in the 19th century, it changed jerseys, but it's still the same field.
And the fight for equality is always important. But I say this all the time, man. You'll never be equal as long as somebody can make you equal. You'll only be equal when you have the power to sit to the table. You get what I'm saying? So the first piece of our civil rights struggle was literally to just say, hey, take that chain off of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna fight to get this chain off of me. And once this chain off of me, then that don't put me at the table. That just means I can move around a little bit. Now the fight has to be, how do I come and sit at the table? Right? What do I need to have? What do I do now that I can go to school? Now that I can get a job? Now that I can do this, then the third? What do I need to do now to say, okay, all right, I'm gonna take this piece into my own hands, and I'm gonna make sure that my kids, that I personally know some things, and that my kids know some things. Because the one thing you can, I mean, unless you catch amnesia, the one thing they can't take from you is what you know.
Yeah,
what you know is what you know. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you know some things, go ahead.
Oh, you good. I feel like the table, we have fought so many years to get a seat at the table, and now we have enough economics and education to create our own.
Yes.
That's just because one of the things, and you know, Pentecost Sunday.
Wait. Before you move, I want to say this one thing.
Yeah.
a seat at the table is literally like, I think when we normally think of a seat at the table, you think, oh, someone inviting me to sit with them. That's not what I mean when I say to sit at the table.
No.
The people who sit at the table are because they built a table. Right. So when I look around and they might have had tons of help building their table. Don't get me twisted there. Right. But it should be our job to help someone build a table.
Absolutely.
Right? Because all the table is not just the people. Some people, do you know how hard it is to not do business with Jeff Bezos? Like think to yourself right now, I don't want to do business with Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos today. If you said to yourself today, I don't want to do any business with Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, you're going to have one of the hardest days of your life today.
You will.
Not because we invited them into our lives, but because we can't get them out of it.
You can't.
They built a big enough table to where, shit, I got to sit with them.
You got to. You have
that's
to.
That's what I want us to do.
Yeah, I hear you. And that's to that extent, you know, hell, Amazon is the reason that malls are failing.
Facts. Walmart's are failing.
You know, mom and pop stores failing.
I got to sit and take. Yes.
It's hard. And
once we get I believe the church can do that, or right, or at least create the momentum, right? I'm not saying we go from where we are to where we want to be in one generation. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but if we're using these as supplementary educational places, right? It's tons of folk out here who we could really use the supplemental education. And I'm not saying we go in there and teach physics in church. That's not what I'm saying. But when I say the supplement, I mean to encourage it, right? To I want to know how my kids, and I keep focusing on children because I just believe that they are the now and the future. But I want to know how every one of these kids doing in school. I mean every one of them. I want to know, yo, man, what you think about doing with your life? What you want to do? How do I help you do that? I want to know how every one of them doing. And I want this place to be a place that encourages that. Man, how you doing in school? What do you want to learn? How can I help you? Who do I know that can mentor you? How do we put that together? You know, does anybody do that? Can I link them with such so that because kids they'll do whatever they got the time to do. So if I keep them walking in the path, man, I want to know. One thing I say about my mama always encouraged me to know. Man, I want to know. I really need to know something. And the more that we encourage kids, baby, go know it. Don't guess it. Don't just go know it.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go know it.
And I think this is where my assertion would be. The black community, we have a huge issue with accountability of those who we support. And I say that to say this. If the community, for whatever, we had a consensus that said, hey, churches that are majority black or that has a black rhetoric or black theology, you know, if we're going to continue to support you, we're going to need you to do more than just shout us on Sunday. You know, even with black businesses, we'll say, oh, I can't shout black business. They don't do X, Y, and Z. But if you say, hey, we're going to support you, but you're not going to give us piss poor service. We're going to keep giving you our dollar, but we need to hold you accountable to get a better product. If we do that to the church, like, hey, you want us to give, you want us to support the ministry, but how are you giving that same support back to us? We gonna give our donations, our tithes, we're gonna give our offering, but we need to see our kids going to college. We need to see our kids getting a trade. We need to see you facilitating. We need to see you facilitating that. Yes. And it's more than just Sunday school. It's a book. Todd Bolsinger, he wrote Canoeing the Mountains. He said the reality that churches need to face in the 21st century is whatever got us here won't take us to where we're going.
Because that got us here.
And and so my thing is now we have to say we need this out of the church. You want the dollars, you want to build these buildings, but we need a community hub. We don't
Yeah.
need just a basketball gym for us to have church leagues in. We need to have tutoring classes. We need to have
Absolutely.
mock ACT tests that happen in these facilities. We need
Yes.
vaccination and testing sites.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like the church can't be that anti-science,
We can't
right?
be.
Like it just can't be that
We can't
anti.
be.
And when I say science, I don't mean the physical sciences. I mean anti the body of information.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I don't just mean like anti-virology.
No, it's hard
But, like-
for me to subscribe to saying I serve an omniscience God and say that he is void of science. That's
Of science.
BS.
Yeah, and I think now here comes an interesting piece. I think this is just my own personal thought. I know that there are creation stories, blah 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 blah. Listen, there could be a moral taught from that creation story,
Mhm.
but don't think this is the scientific answer. I can teach you the moral out of this. I can teach you
Absolutely.
right. Like I'm not against the creation story. There's tons of stories that exist on the planet that I don't have to take literally to learn from. Right.
Exactly.
I go learn the way this place was formed. Take the body of information. Go find some geologists, paleontologists, physicists, biochemists, chemists. Figure out the way life came to be. That's great. The story that we're telling here is for the moral, right? Hey, when it's all said and done, there's a power greater than us. Cool.
That's the moral.
That's the moral.
Now, how did it happen?
How did
it
that happen?
Scientifically.
Scientific.
And you don't
separate
have to
those
separate
two
the
things,
two.
baby.
don't.
Right. Yeah. Don't let this get in the way of learning how the world came to be. Because when we look at how the world came to be, we find it's so interesting, man. I was listening to this guy. I can't remember who I was listening to, but listening to like the creation of like the beginning of the universe and the Big Bang theory, and that there was a false vacuum state, right? And in a false vacuum state, this random scientific information, guys, in a false vacuum state that kind of transformed into a pure vacuum state, in a pure vacuum state where there is nothing in the vacuum, like literally it's devoid of all things, it is void of all things. Virtual particles just pop into existence. I did not know this.
Mm-hmm.
Virtual particles just pop into existence, even in a pure vacuum state. We don't know why that happens yet. But doesn't matter. This is what we know so far. These virtual particles pop into existence out of nowhere, right? And over time, you give it enough time, they'll eventually bounce into each other. Anything that can happen will happen given enough time. They eventually bounce into each other, right? And you start to get this dense, hot ball of virtual particles and energy that expands within a fraction. I mean, a billionth of a second, just expands, right? And in that expansion, all that energy that causes it to expand, because there is energy in the vacuum state. You can't get rid of the energy in the vacuum state.
Sure.
Because there's vacuum in the energy. I mean, there's energy in the vacuum. It's called vacuum energy, right?
Yeah.
And so that expansion happens, and you get these protons, this big, beautiful, super fast moving expansion happens, and the protons start to bounce into each other, and they collect electrons, and all of a sudden you start to get hydrogen, the first element, right? Hydrogen. And hydrogen start clumping together because of gravity, and you start to bringing things together, and you start to get stars. Right, and then those big hydrogen, like our star here, right? Our big star, the sun, right? Big hydrogen, helium fusing, because what happens is that hydrogen under all that pressure starts bouncing in each other, and then fusing two hydrogen atoms together, and now you get helium, right? And then that keeps bouncing together, that keeps smashing other elements together, and you start to get oxygen. and you keep going until you get all the way to iron. Here's the dope part. Iron is so much heavier than hydrogen and helium, blah, 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 that it sinks down into the bottom of the star and creates another explosion. Now you've gone supernova. You start to get these heavier elements. Man, that's a hell of a story. That is a hell of a story, right? That put this rock, the rock that we live on, in a bunch of trillions of other rocks, right? That put us right in an inhabitable zone of our helium and hydrogen fusion. It's basically a fucking fusion reactor, right? That bringing these elements from comets and water and rain and electricity and creating biochemistry. This story is fantastic. What it doesn't teach me is how to treat my neighbor.
It does not.
It don't teach me that, right? It doesn't teach me how to be grateful. But it's a fantastic fucking story.
Can you imagine if that explanation within a sermon of the creation narrative is imported, showing a scientific fact that can go within the paradigm of the creation narrative?
See, my
like
thing
you would
is,
have me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, tell me how this place came to be. I can then tell you, okay, now listen, the moral of this story is through the epochs of time, right? As all of this was going on, man, what we really learned is that, the creation narrative teach me, if it doesn't teach me anything else, it teaches me to learn from the people ahead of you. If there's one thing Adam should have done, it's learn from who knew more than him, right? Yep. Pay attention to the folk who know more than you. Don't do this intuitively. Learn what's true, right? Life is not intuitive. Yeah, it looked like that fruit is good for food, but somebody has studied this fruit and they would tell you, don't do that, right? Listen to the people who know, right? So, but I'm gonna tell you,
in the creation narrative, there's an aspect of not necessarily Adam proper name person, but Adam, the Hebrew word for mankind or humanity. There's an aspect of even learning there. And so morally, if we look at it from that perspective, the very first thing, if I had to preach Genesis 1, the very first thing that's most important to humanity is the knowledge of where you are. That's it. Before Adam or Adam or humanity names anything, there has to be a process of understanding where you are, understanding what's around you. And all of that is within the moral teachings of the creation narrative.
Yeah, teach that, but teach that. I mean, teach it. How am I saying it? Don't let those two. Again, no, there is never a problem with you teaching me a moral. Human beings are moral creatures, right?
Absolutely.
Human beings, and we at some point we're gonna figure out how this moral works because we got to work together. We got to live together. We're social creatures for sure. We've developed these morals over time. Definitely. At one point, it was morally okay to sell your daughter into sex slavery. Right now, it is not.
It's not.
Right, and it should, and I hope it never goes back.
Hey,
but because it won't be mine. Right, but let me separate the science from this. Let me encourage you to know how the earth came to be, and then let me talk moral to you. Morally, what's the most important thing? And I feel like the most important thing at this point, and the Bible says this, man, learn to love your damn neighbor.
That's it.
Right? That if there's one thing that I wish the church would just harp itself on, just take some time, park here. Love your neighbor. Right? We're gonna go out to figure out how space and time came to be. God does not have to snap his finger and make life. Okay, whatever. The most important thing this book has ever said.
Love.
Man, love your neighbor. Your girl neighbor, your boy neighbor, your black neighbor, your white neighbor, your straight neighbor, your gay neighbor.
Yay.
Love your neighbor. Spend your time now. If folk was out there, fam, I would not be agnostic as I stand if it wasn't for the fact that folk tried to hop over and shit they had no business being involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if all they did was teach, man, we are here to learn how to love our neighbors.
Gandhi said that he wished he had met Christ before he met a Christian.
Before he met Christians. Facts. I do not have a problem with your Christ. I have a problem with his followers.
Yep. And that's where we have socially dropped the ball.
Yeah, man. If you spend our time focusing on just, this is the community that we're in, I'm going to learn to love it. I'm going to bring new aspects of growth and beauty and blah, 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 blah. Man, then my intellectual side and my moral side wouldn't clash as much.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, when I tell you the Big Bang narrative, I'm going to tell you another piece of narrative that is just, and I got to get rid of it. Go, God dog. Man, I hate when we start getting good. I'm going to tell you one more thing, and I'm going to let you close this out. If you ever really want to blow your own mind, just go start finding out about abiogenesis. In other words, how we went from non-organic chemistry to organic chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Man, life being here is a gift. I mean, like it's a happenstance. Like when you go back and just look at the mechanisms that got us here, not skip if there was a God that did it. Let's just say a God did it, right? Let's just say whatever the God is you believe in orchestrated this. The way by which it was orchestrated is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And I mean mind-blowing, like what? Right, to bring these random little after all that Big Bang stuff that I just told you about, to get those elements together and get that carbon and that nitrogen and that oxygen and a few other things, I can forget them all. But for them to start forming in the waters, right, and then start building RNA all by themselves.
Right.
And then RNA to become little proto cells. I mean, what am I trying to say? Like little protobacteria into bacteria, and oh my God, oh, it's an amazing thing. And if you want to give the glory to God,
beautiful.
By all means, give it to God. Right? Then to think that these proto cells begin to be in different places and begin to evolve and adapt to their surroundings. I was in my backyard. I hosted this party over the weekend. I was in my backyard yesterday, and this squirrel hopped over my gate, and because I'm dumb, I started thinking about how many things me and that squirrel got in common. We're both in the animal kingdom. We're both mammals, right? We're both. I think we're both tetrapods, right? We're both tetrapods. No. We're quadrupods. We have 4 limbs, right? So we're tetra. Yeah. We're both tetrapods. We both got 5 fingers. We both got 5 toes. We both give birth to live young. We both grow hair on our, like we're quite related.
Yeah.
Right. The diversity of life, right, is like just absolutely amazing. And to watch how that happened that's no disrespect to whatever God you believe in.
It's not.
To me, it's a hell of a story. Like if your God put this together, then
that's amazing.
Man, praise be to that God. I put that on everything. Man, praise be to that God, because that is genius. And it's genius in a way that it takes us thousands of years to figure out. Right? Looking out and seeing the cosmic microwave background, realizing that, man, even when we look at you, man, we only see one side of the moon because of, oh my God, tidal locking, just the whole, it's really beautiful. Right?
Yeah.
And if my kids understand it, if your kids understand the way the financial markets actually work, Not just, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and flip some money, but the way it works is big and beautiful and powerful. Those who understand, there's a scripture that says, they that know their God shall do exploits. Right. Another scripture that says that we came to know God through the beauty of this creation, seeing all the things that were made. Right. Yep. Man, learn this thing, man. Do some exploits, and then remember that the whole moral of the story is to do good, right? What it said? What they say in Ecclesiastes? Come, let us hear the conclusion of the matter. Right? In other words, what's the point, right? Man, to do good, God. To love mercy, and to walk humbly.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Yep. Walk humbly. That's it. If you teach me that, man, you and your God got my whole backing. Right? Because
one of the first passages that my Hebrew professor, well, it was really like the second or third passage when we were in Hebrew. We translated Psalm 19. And Psalm 19 begins talking about the beauty of all of creation.
Yeah.
And my Hebrew professor just went through all of what it means to be creation. And then you move through Psalm 19, it goes to, but the law of the Lord does this, and it does this. And the reason that creation is so beautiful is because if we believe that the God of the universe created all of this, the beauty in what you see, just even you acknowledging how closely related we are with a squirrel, that's something that people don't ever think about. But when you think about it in terms of creation and thinking about the beauties of what we have, and if we actually took the time to be educated within the ramifications of creation, then if you ascribe all of creation to God, to me, like Psalm 19 says, it causes you to become closer to that God. And what's the conclusion of Psalm 19? Let the words of my mouth and the meditation.
Just the meditations of my heart, man. Like, just let me get that right. And let me go learn the way the world was, learn the way the world is.
And here's the beauty. The meditation that the psalmist is talking about is the examination of the universe and creation. He said, let that be acceptable.
See, this I can go with, right? I could go with that. And if somebody wanted to tell me that their God put all that together, baby, I have no clue as to how the universe came to be. We have not, and even when we figure out exactly what sparked that, if you wanted to put your God to say, well, God did, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm totally okay with that. But don't let
conversation.
Don't let your religious ideology stand in the way of the progress. Don't let religion become the answer. Religion gives us the answer to how to treat my neighbor. And even that grows. Again, I would not sell my daughter into slavery. I would not go and commit genocide against the culture next to me.
Right.
But I can watch the progress as to how we evolved from that to this.
Exactly.
Right. And I still can say, man, the same God that built an evolving universe, if I wanted to, the same God that built this evolving universe that went from from a couple little virtual particles to this big, vast, beautiful universe could also go from one little day of worship to a life of worship. Could also go from from not understanding the culture beside me to loving the culture beside.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Like that to me is doable.
It is. And it teaches a moral compass about being socially acceptable to all humanity.
Yes.
That's what it does. Because it shows you the sublimity of life and how small we are considering all things.
Man, considering all, man. There are some times that I have often wondered, considering how all the earth was made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder. Right. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee, how great thou art. Right. But take some time to really consider the place.
Consider it. You got to.
Right. Learn this thing. It's way prettier than you think.
It is.
And don't chop it off by saying God did it. You get there. Like, keep learning the thing.
Work your way back to God if that's your Genesis.
And if God is a long way away, I think about it this way. And I'm keep in mind, I'm the skeptic here. But
yeah.
There is a scripture that says, seek God while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Because the day comes, right, that he won't be so close. So even if God is two universes away, seek him through the universes, right?
And not just
in the meantime,
not just face value. Yeah,
you would have found out so much.
Man, listen.
And if you find God after the second universe, if you bump into God after the second universe, you would have done your work in seeking him. There's no way God can turn you away and say, you didn't seek me. I was 2 universes away and you found me anyway. And in the meantime, you will have learned a lion's share, my man.
So much.
Oh my God. Anyway, man, bro, I appreciate you for this. I got to go take another phone call.
Thank you so much, man. This was huge. This is amazing.
Man, I enjoy them every time, every single time. Man. It's good to have you on, man. Good to see you smiling. I know it's another Tuesday again, man. And when I say you can call me, you really can't call me. If you ever need anything, let me know. Man, it's good to have you on. I look forward to us continuing to build this way. And man, thank you. And thank you for everybody that watched. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I ain't prophetic, but I'll tell you this morning, no BS. I'm not making this up. I am not, because I ain't one of them niggas that'll say, God told me to tell you X, Y, and Z. I'm not that person. I had a dream. Me and my wife were in Oakland, meeting you in Oakland. And we were trying to figure out the URL for our website. I mean, this was this morning. I promise you, I'm not bullshitting. And so I'm not saying anything outside of, even if that is the highest inclination of my emotions. It's something I want to explore.
Man, that almost brought a tear to my eye, man. I appreciate you for that. We'll figure out how to turn the dream into a reality. That's what we do around here. So I appreciate that, man. I will talk to you soon. And to everybody watching, man, thank y'all again for watching. As we just kind of respectfully disagree, man. We just figuring it out, man. And I love that. I love that for us, man. I will catch you guys later, man. Y'all be good. Carl.